Hey guys, welcome to my channel.
Thank you for watching.
So we're going to be covering what might be a little bit of like a controversial topic, you guys. Transgender surgeries. I'm working on my funny voices. So the last video I did was a much heavier topic, something that was a lot harder for me to talk about. So thank you everyone who watched that and gave me their feedback.
Thank you for watching.
I'm actually working on like another video that's about, basically I feel like I'm at a stage where I'm trying to unpack things that happened in my life that affected me deeply that I haven't dealt with. And so as part of processing that, I'm basically making like little episodes that are kind of like a podcast for me. So I'm working on the next one, but I thought in the meantime, let's do something a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun. So why not talk about the tranny surgeries?
They're doing transgender surgeries on illegal aliens. Shout outs to Roger Smith, by the way, overall founding mother of the House of Smith.
Okay, by the way, there are some people who refer to like any surgery that a trans person gets in their transition as quote-unquote mutilation. These are usually like the people, like the gender critical types who spend like 16 hours a day tweeting about trans stuff, and yeah, they call like any surgery you get mutilation. And my response to that is, first of all, Twitter mutilated your fucking brain, bitch. How about that? Okay. But also, like, most of these a good deal of these surgeries are actually just like cosmetic stuff, like a nose job. So like, it's no more mutilation than if anyone else got a nose job. Just throwing that out there. But for real though, like, gender critical people, why are you tweeting all day about trans people? It's giving deranged, okay? It's giving, are you okay?
I have a little bit of experience with this. I'm not going to tell you everything I've had done.
Don't be telling my secrets.
People can be very like critical. People have a lot of unsolicited opinions and feedback whenever you talk about this kind of stuff. So I think I was kind of afraid of that for a while. Then I decided, you know what? I feel good about myself, and whatever people have to say, it's their opinion. Opinions are like assholes, you know, but I'm still going to be me in spite of what anybody thinks. So there we go. Disclaimer. In any case, I did not begin transitioning in an official capacity until I was in my mid-20s. Although those of you who saw my last video know that I, despite not identifying as a woman in my early 20s, your girl was fishy already, okay? Right. I'll refer you to my last video to know a little bit of what that experience was like for me. But nonetheless, I still felt guilty about waiting so long, in a relative sense, I guess, to start taking hormones and start transitioning. So when I started, the first thing I did was I started taking female hormones, all right? And to be honest, I feel like unless you transition super early, or you just like win the genetic lottery, hormones don't really do all that much. And in my experience, most of my feminization, okay, was through surgery. I actually felt really discouraged at first when I started hormones because I felt like they weren't really making a dent. And a lot of that's probably just me being a little too hard on myself. It's very easy to compare yourself to someone who is like way further along and has gotten way more done whenever you're just starting out and you start to think, I'll never look like that. So back then I used to think that I was basically screwed until I can get like a plastic surgeon to shave it all off and start all over. You know?
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe a surgeon peeled her face off and fixed her shitty skull.
I was pretty hard on myself, unnecessarily so. So the first surgery that I had, which I've talked about it on my channel before, was like a voice feminization surgery. And to this day, I still think that's probably the most important surgery that I got. I talked about this in the video that I made about that. I think that you can get away with a lot in terms of like your transition. Your voice is like the #1 thing that colors how people see you and interpret you. And I didn't have like a terrible voice. I was very insecure. I was insecure about a lot of things. I go back and like listen to old videos, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of took a lot of them down, was because I felt like I was embarrassed by, it's hard to watch them now without kind of cringing a little bit. I think a lot of trans women have that experience where like the more you feminize yourself, the harder it is to go back and look at what you were like, what you sounded like, what you looked like before. And my voice was not actually that bad. There's some videos where like it doesn't really sound that different than it does now, but then there's others where it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's giving a little bit Barry White there. I think really I probably just had like a typical like gay voice at the time, where it was a lot of like feminine inflections and talking and upspeak and so forth, just like that was just how I talked.
Last few videos have been topics that like I was really interested in, like it was really fun for me to talk about.
But there was like a deeper undertone to it. But anyway, I was very uncomfortable with that. Like I said, your voice is like the most important part of how people interpret you. I was actually having a conversation with someone in a comment section about this person named Lily Tina who identifies as transgender and is very controversial. You know, she goes to restaurants a lot and like this is her thing. Like she records herself getting misgendered people calling her sir and that sort of thing.
I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go.
And what I was saying is like, okay, I can look at Lily and see that this is a person who's trying to look like a female, got the hair grown out, wearing makeup, wearing women's clothes. It's giving caveman and lipstick, sure, but I think a lot more people would look at her, and I'm going to say her because why be ugly to someone? I'm going to say her. Look at her and might be wondering, does this person want me to address them as male or female? And then the minute Lily opens her mouth, you hear a voice and you see mannerisms that remind you of, you instantly associate with so many men that you just observed over years and years. This is how men talk. This is how men act.
Yeah, like it's like a knife in the heart.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's just always like a knife. It always hurts every single time.
And so I think in a lot of people's minds, they go, oh, okay, must want me to refer to them as sir. And if Lily would actually like try to do something about her voice, then I think that would mitigate a lot of that. I've seen people suggest that Lily probably likes to be misgendered and probably likes getting the attention and the clout and so forth. And that may be true. I don't know. I'm going to do something that's probably a little bit unpopular. I'm going to give Lily a little bit of grace, which I think just as human beings, we should give each other some grace sometimes. Try to understand the other person's point of view. And some people may not agree with that, but this weird thing happened to me when I hit 30 where I felt like I wanted to try to be a better person. I've actually had friends that Lily reminds me of. I still consider them friends. People who are like her, okay, would be categorized as a transbian, that sort of thing.
If you'll jump at any opportunity to cross-dress as a joke, you might be a transbian.
The impression that I always got from them is that they are trying to present a version of womanhood that feels authentic to them. All right, so in their minds, they know a lot of women who play video games or chew tobacco or drive big who fucking knows, whatever. Stuff that's not considered traditionally feminine. So in their mind, you don't have to be the most traditionally feminine person to still see yourself as a woman and feel like you want to be a woman or whatever. So even though in my mind, I feel like, okay, but if you're born in that body, you're going to have to do a lot more than like a regular woman would to be perceived as a woman. That may be how I see it, but that's not how Lily is seeing it. And so I can respect that.
Editor's note, just because I'm giving Lily a little grace here doesn't mean that I approve of some of the more controversial things she does. So I'm not like a Lily expert, but I know that there was this big outrage because she was like talking about genital surgery in public at like Disneyland and there were kids in the background. And her rationalization for this is that people could not hear her. It was so loud in there. And she feels like people just got offended because she's talking about trans stuff in public, which, okay, I can kind of get why she might think that, because I think that is a thing. People do get uncomfortable just with the idea of trans being mentioned in public. Same as like people get uncomfortable like if they see two gay men holding hands, and some people think that like it's okay if you're gay but just don't hold hands in public, that kind of thing, which I think is bigoted. But okay, the outfit she's wearing here, the fact that it's at Disneyland, like I don't think anyone's talking about anything sexual at Disneyland in that outfit in front of kids, even if they can't hear you. I don't think that would be normal for anyone. I'm not suggesting that she's like a pedophile, but maybe it could just be a case where someone like really lacks self-awareness. I don't know. It's giving weird though. The other thing that people were mad at her was she suggested that Kurt Cobain might be trans, which I can understand. However, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought that maybe Kurt Cobain was AGP at times. There is stuff that might make you think that if you are familiar with that concept. But I do think, here's where I'll give Lily one win. I do think that like our society, because he's a dead musician that people kind of see as a hero now, associating him with something that is as politically contentious and shameful as autogynephilia or transgender anything, in a lot of people's minds that like makes him no longer a hero, and that part is prejudiced. But anyway,
I think it can be very tempting for the dolls, okay, to like want to say that this is what I did and this is what makes me look more feminine or feel like be treated in society with a little bit more respect than someone like Lily. So Lily should do this. And there's like a desire to sort of like gatekeep. And I get that. But here's what I'm learning is you can't control the universe. There are women, biological women, who look at like the fishiest, most unclockable, most feminine trans women ever, look at them and say, okay, well, you're not a real woman because you weren't born a woman and you can't give birth, you don't have ovaries, that sort of thing. And they may want to exclude us, but my response to that is there's always going to be people like us. Okay, I read this book a few years back. It was like an ethnography about like Brazilian travestis, and like it was really interesting. Like these people, and this book was written in like 97. So this guy did this research on travestis in Brazil for like 10 years, I forget how long, but this has been going on for a long time. People born male who are very feminine and so start not only presenting as women, but injecting their bodies with industrial silicone to have more womanly hips, and to like, I guess they didn't have access to breast implants, so they would get the silicone pumped into their breast, into their cheeks. Ballroom girls still do this to this day. People are just going to do that whether you like it or not. Men are going to be attracted to these travestis. Them travestis make their money, okay? They do like sex work and they get paid, okay? There's going to be a demand for it. There's going to be people who feel happier living their life that way, whether you like it or not. There is nothing biological women can do to stop that. And I sort of feel like the same way about like the AGPs or the people like Lily. Whenever other trans women try to like exclude them, like, you can't control the universe. Like, there's gonna be Lily Tinos whether we like it or not. So we can spend all of our time like complaining about it and like picking apart everything they do, or we can try to be a little bit nicer. Maybe we can have some sort of a helpful impact on them and how they go about their transition, and they might in turn start to be more thoughtful about how their presentation, how they go about the world impacts how we're treated. I think you'll accomplish a lot more by trying to be a compassionate person to people than by just pointing and laughing at them. That was a long tangent, which is to say, yes, I do think that Lily would have a better go at it if she would do some goddamn voice training. Like, girl, after all the preaching that I did, I will admit the fact that, yeah, I look at her and I'm like, I know exactly how she walks like a fucking caveman just by looking at her. I'm a human, I notice things, okay. And part of the reason that I feel like I want to be a little kinder to someone like Lily is because before I had that voice surgery, I would get misgendered in public, not all the time. And this is going outside, leaving my house every day. Every once in a while, someone would say he in reference to me, and that would really bother me. And I would sit there and I would think, I would know that it was my voice. And getting that surgery did a lot to fix that for me. The next thing that I did, the most important thing for me, was getting facial feminization surgery. I figured out that I'm what's called a face queen, okay? The face is always going to be beat with me. I'm always going to have the makeup. And I think that's actually why I put off like actually starting like medically transitioning for so long, because like I already had a feminine looking face. So people would tell me that I was pretty even before I started transitioning, and that was always like, I always wanted to be pretty. So I didn't really think as much about everything else because that part of my identity was being validated to some extent. What really motivated the transition, one of the things that motivated it for me, was the fear, truck driving by, the fear of getting older and my body starting to masculinize and not having that pretty face anymore. All right. Some people call that Twink Death.
Twink Death is terrified.
In a world where you are like bombarded with advertisements that want you to buy things that prey on your insecurities. So that was a part of why I wanted to get the facial feminization surgery. I can look back and like recognize that while also still recognizing that getting that surgery was really important for me, really like played a huge role in the way that people interpret me. So I don't regret it. I'd do it again. And whenever you talk about your facial feminization surgery online, there's always going to be at least one person that's going to be like, you still look like a man. You look the same. Let me stop you right now. I don't believe you. Okay. I have before and after pictures. So basically what they do, I got the works. Okay. They make little small changes to everything. Okay. Add fat to the cheeks. For me, they added like a screw in my chin to make it pointier, made my nose smaller. The nose was like the biggest change that I noticed. Brow lift, forehead lowering. I still like only have partial filling in my forehead, so that's why I like scratch a lot because like it feels weird. But anyway, they make all these small changes, and it has the cumulative impact is that you look a lot more feminine. Like, it's definitely giving more doll now, honey. Thank you. All right, for anybody that's going to try to read me. After I got the surgery done, there were actually people that like I would see in everyday life, like going to like certain stores I went to, stuff like that. People asked me like, what was different? What did you do? Like, you look different. And I would try to pass it off like, oh, I'm just doing my makeup differently. And like, the look in their eyes, like, I could tell they were like, nah, bitch, I'm gonna believe a lot of shit. Okay, but not that. It takes like about a year for all of the swelling to go down. So at first I just noticed that my face looked longer than it did before, which I thought was interesting. And the nose was smaller. And like little things, just over time, you gradually start to notice it. But after a year, I felt like I looked snatched, okay? It can really boost your confidence. There's this clip of T.S. Madison talking about Nene Leakes from Real Housewives, and she was like, if that woman gets one more surgery, she's gonna look like a trans, and she's gonna look like one of the dolls, all right? And sure enough, she got the other surgery, and T.S. Madison was like,
Girl, we done got a new trainee out here in the streets.
Formerly a girl.
There's a new fag in the streets, honey, and she's running things, bitch.
Girl, she got her Christian Dior bag and her Gucci pants.
We got a new fag and she's running things, baby.
and that is how I felt. Like, I was that girl, honey. You couldn't tell me nothing. I got the surgery summer 2022. The next year, oh my gosh, I was that girl. I was getting so much more attention from guys. I was getting a lot more compliments. People like acting like I was fucking Tyra Banks or somebody, which I am.
Look at me, I'm beautiful.
But anyway, it can be kind of hollow though. You can't base all of your self-esteem on how far you're coming in your transition or just how you look in general. The most beautiful people in the world, there's models, actors, people that are like inside, they look great on the outside, but inside are miserable because they still don't feel like they're enough. And so for me, the first time that someone, it took a while for this to happen, but the first time that someone referred to me as a male after getting all this surgery, it shattered me, which I've got news for you. If you think you're ever going to escape people clocking you, the most unclockable, passable trans women still get clocked sometimes. There's always going to be someone, and that's just a reality. That shattered me, and it took me a while to kind of start building up the confidence in myself to realize that the thing about transitioning is you're not going to become a real woman, all right? You're not going to become a cis woman, and that is okay. There's like a certain threshold that you cross where you're taking on more and more feminine, female-like characteristics. And the more female-like characteristics you have, the more you seem like a woman to people. You seem like a really good approximation of a woman to people. So people might even still look at you and know that you're really trans, know that you're not really biologically female, but they're interpreting you as this like approximation of a woman rather than as a man. And if that's not your goal, to be interpreted as a really good approximation of a female, and you just want to like put on some lipstick or just want to like be a little feminine, then that's you do you. But for someone that does want to be treated like a woman in the world, you have to accept that and like just to be okay psychologically. Otherwise, every time someone tries to contradict your identity, it's gonna fuck you up inside. I have a friend of mine who is it's like maybe like 10 years younger than me, and it's just starting her transition and just starting to like get all this attention from guys. Because okay, first of all, men like trans women. Men like pretty trans girls. I'm so sorry. That's just how it is. She's getting all this like attention from guys, people getting all like complimenting her all the time. Something that I went through similarly. And when I was trying to tell her is that do not obsess over trying to be the perfect approximation of a woman. Do not try to obsess over every little minor flaw or imperfection, because it will blind you to how beautiful you actually are, to how much power you have, how much confidence you can have within yourself, like your effect on other people. The fact that you walk down the street, okay, and these boys are getting hard just looking at you, bitch. That's what it is, okay? There are going to be people that are going to try to make you feel bad about who you are, and especially other trans women will do this to you too. They will obsess over something that they think makes you look cocky, because really it's their own self-hatred that they're projecting onto you, and they might try to make you feel bad about yourself to make you feel how they feel inside, really. Do not listen to them. Do not listen to these people. You have to always remember that these bitches ain't nobody, okay?
These bitches ain't nobody.
Fuck them. What I found is the more that I've started to love myself and start to take care of myself, I've gotten to a place where I make decisions about my transition based on what's going to make me happy. When you first start transitioning, there is like a temptation to want to appeal to men, all right? A lot of us are very boy crazy. That's just how we are. But after a while, you start to learn that your happiness and your self-love comes from you, not from the outside world, not from trying to please the other trans girls who are going to try to clock you, not from trying to get the best trade, okay? At the end of the day, it is you that has to be happy with yourself. Like, I have other surgeries that I'm thinking of getting done, and I've had to evaluate, like, am I doing that for other people or am I doing that for myself? Because I feel like I deserve it. And I think it's because I feel like I deserve it. It'll make me feel good about myself. For example, I've been thinking about getting breast implants. Inquiring minds might want to know, these are not implants. This is the result of me being consistent with my hormones. This is as big as they've gotten. I do make them look a little bit bigger, but they've gotten some growth. They're a nice little handful. You want to see them? I'll show you them. Okay, so I took a little thirst trap yesterday. I felt like Marilyn Monroe, baby. I felt like I was posing for Playboy. I would like for them to be a little bit bigger, so I might still go through with getting the implants. But if this is what I have for the rest of my life, I like them. They're my boobs.
I mean, they're my boobs.
You know, they're perky. Like I said before, like, I am a face queen, so I have a tendency to neglect feminizing, like, what I need to do to feminize the body more, like, because I'm so focused on the face. But when I actually started thinking about getting breast implants, I started noticing women's boobs more. And, like, so my ideal body type, if I could have anybody's body, I'd want it to be like Marilyn Monroe's, right? So I Googled her nudes, okay? And, like, the way that her breasts looked, like, they were not these big blow-up doll boobs. They were, like, you know, like, they were imperfect, but they're perky and they're natural looking. And I always thought that I would want something more like that, like something more natural looking. So if I do get that surgery, I'll probably just make them a little bit bigger, but want to, like, retain the same shape, the same imperfections. Because, okay, first of all, gotten a lot of compliments on them, all right? Guys seem to really like them, okay? But more importantly, I like them. So I might just keep them like this. I don't know. It's up to me, no one else. But yeah, anyway, I guess that's all I really have to say on the topic.
Thank you for watching.
Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.